Welcome to another episode of Coffee with E. This one is not going to disappoint. If you are in the cleaning business and you're trying to figure out like which way to go and what systems to use, at the end, you got to stay because he's going to share something. My guest is none other than Ben Bragg. We actually go through so much, how he fell, got up, even his family, and then this new proprietary information software. You do not want to miss it. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to have coffee with you. Well, actually, you did blow my cover. Y'all, he blew my cover, okay? So most times I do have coffee, and he just happened to see a couple episodes where I did not have coffee, and he's like, well, you don't have coffee anyways. We were running late today. I'm just going to be honest with you. We were running late and did not have the coffee, so we're going to have water.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I already had coffee today.
And since we are going to shout it out, Pine Hill Builders, I want to say thank you because this is the second episode, or I should say series of episodes that we're going to have, and they're amazing builders, and they are located in Lidditz, PA. So I'm just excited to have this chat with you today.
Dude, me too.
Yeah. So Benjamin Bragg. I feel like I've known you for quite some time through our daughters, right?
Yes.
Growing up in the basketball scene, which is kind of vicious in itself, but that's not the episode we're going to talk about.
There'll be a pool on there.
We're not going to talk about that today, but I wanted to talk to you because the whole essence of our podcast is to talk to people that are dynamic, that have made an impact, that are doing the darn thing, right? And you recently relocated to Florida, I guess, to have a better life. And yet, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I saw on Facebook, and this is why I reached out to you, you actually were just sharing something that had happened to you, like personally, that affected you, but it was through business ventures that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have that conversation because I think it's important to shed light on it. Why? Because someone can learn from it. And two, I just appreciated the fact that you were very transparent about the things you went through. Because if you look at social media, it's always a highlight reel most times.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing what you shared that day? And then we can go into a little bit deeper. And then, of course, we're going to end it on a high note because you're doing the darn thing, right? Yeah. Yeah. You came from out of the ashes and now you're doing awesome. So let's dive into it.
Well, yeah, that was, I think I remember the video you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And yes, it was, I was actually driving from the beach that day. And, at the beach, I was watching, social media, and I noticed, a lot of times people seem to post, including myself, all of the great things that are happening. And you start to realize that, you start thinking that these people don't have any problems, like their life is great. And then I think a lot of times we start to think that, something must be wrong with us if we're having issues. So I literally, it was a quick decision to pull over, and I decided, I never share any of, some of the challenges I've been through in life. So I pulled over and he literally turned the camera on and just said what came to mind.
You could tell it was raw. You could. Yeah. And Jesse brought it to my attention, actually. Just like, oh, man. Yeah. He's like, Erica, look at this. I was like, oh, my gosh. I was proud of you, actually.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate that. And, I think it was definitely relieving for myself, just because, growing up early and then being in business and employing, a lot of family members, friends and things in that nature, a lot of times I kind of got put into a position that everyone looks up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
they do.
It becomes hard sometimes. It's like, a guy once told me a story. He says, it's kind of like being on a boat, a captain of the ship. And if, a lot of times if the captain seems nervous, then the passengers and the crew get nervous and everybody starts wondering and causes panic. So I think with that in mind, a lot of times some of the issues that I go through and the problems I go through, it becomes hard to share, with other people that, perhaps in this instance that I'm driving the boat that are on the boat with me.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think? Because I felt like that too. I'm just curious, like, why you felt that way.
Is I think that people, look for people to kind of follow and that are maybe walking a path that might be something similar to that they want to walk. And I think when you develop and you start to realize the responsibility that you have, it becomes important to you to, at least to them appear that ship is still, on course.
Yeah.
And you might realize that, hey, there's rough water ahead, and you got to think about how do you want to prepare the people, on the ship for that. So a lot of it is, me being through the rough water before and making it through the waves and everything and knowing it's going to be okay. And, really deciding, from my experiences, what would be best, helpful to these folks to make it through, that same exact, situation.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It's responsibility.
You're leading others.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so from my perspective personally, going through something similar, it's just like you don't want to disappoint those people, and you know that they have families as well, right? That's going to be impacted, and it's like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Yeah.
Yes, I definitely agree, and I think that more that I look at it is part of the reason why I ended up going to Florida
Mm-hmm.
is, since I've been 20 years old, I've been in my own business. I've been self-employed. And, by the time I was 25 years old, I had a couple hundred employees.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And so I was kind of forced into that responsibility, because I look back at it, I'm like, okay, at 20, who would sign up to be responsible for all of these people's incomes and their life and to pay their rents and their bills? Like, I wouldn't, so it was me, initially just building the business and one day looking up and saying, wow, I have this responsibility. And that really, I think we as leaders have a choice to either, take that responsibility seriously and walk the walk,
Mm-hmm.
or you have the opportunity to talk the talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think it's such a unbelievable responsibility that I decided to walk the walk because it becomes easier, I found, to lead people through that path.
Mm-hmm. So for people that don't know you,
Mhm.
what type of business do you have?
It's
Or
so
what
funny.
type of, I should say, what type of business did you have for the store that we're actually referring to at this moment? Because I think it might have changed a little bit in what you're doing now. So what was it based on the story that you're sharing right now? What type of business was it?
It's funny, is a cleaning business, and it's just funny how things happen in life that, as a young kid growing up and coming from, a single household, my mother worked, 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those jobs was cleaning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm probably responsible for her losing those contracts.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Well, I didn't.
So,
Well, you would go to these offices and they would, have refrigerators with food in it and desk with extra change laying around there.
no, Ben.
And at 7, 8 years old, 10 years old, going to clean,
Yeah.
I remember my mom would send me down and say, you go down and vacuum. And I would just turn the vacuum on. and eat the food.
Oh, man.
You know, and I hated cleaning. But my mom, every week, she would always convince me to do it because I was always able to go to McDonald's and get 2 double cheeseburgers, a French fry, a large Coke. So that was my payment for cleaning. So
Oh, good.
to start off cleaning, I just despised it. And when out of high school, I moved to Arizona with my oldest daughter's mother at the time. And it was just the sunlight, the sunshine. I remember that time forever. I remember leaving, getting off the plane in Arizona, and I was like, wow, there's a whole new world. And the sunshine, I just remember the palm trees, waking up to that. And I remember that feeling, waking up and the energy I felt. And after 2 years of that, you know, we got pregnant with Diamond, and we looked around and realized we didn't have any babysitters in Arizona. So
that's a big deal.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
So we decided to pack up and come back in 1999. I only remember that because that's the year Diamond was born. And I didn't know what to do. And the girl's mom at the time, father had a construction business, and he said, you know, if you guys want to clean the office, you can do that. And I didn't want to do that because it just took me back to
double cheeseburger, French fries.
Burgers and French fries. Exactly right. And so I started cleaning that building. And I remember only thing I cared about was doing a good job. Is because, you know, a lot of times family members might give us jobs and we might not do it to 100% because we go, oh, that's my cousin or that's my aunt. We feel like we can get away, but as soon as it's a stranger, we're the perfect cleaner.
Right.
And so I at least wanted to say, felt like I earned that money, you know, not that I was given anything. And just because of that one simple thing of wanting to do a good job built confidence in him that he started telling his friends. And before you know it, you know, I was showing up doing maid service, cleaning, me and the girl's mom. And we started off doing maid service, doing all types of jobs and got into commercial construction cleanup, and it was just all off the premise of doing a good job. And then money became the byproduct of that. And I feel that if you make money the first thing you go for, and the good job the byproduct, it never turns out well.
Yeah.
Maybe short term, but not long term.
Yeah.
You know, so that was, you know, very important, you know, for me. And just that natural thing of wanting to do a good job, people naturally referred to. So reason why I laughed when you said, you know, tell us what you've done, what you did before this, is for a good part of my life, no one knew my name. They just knew me as the cleaning guy.
Really?
Yeah, because people knew I was in cleaning. You see my trucks everywhere.
Yeah.
And people would always say, you know, who's the guy, you know, what's his name? The cleaning boy.
Yeah.
And Ben, yeah, you know, because that's what they just, you know, kind of ended up knowing me from. Because what happened was, as I was getting these jobs, I needed to learn how to get help and hire people. And so there was a natural progression of things that I had to learn that I had no idea that came with it. You know, I tell people that, you know, you're a cleaning business when it's you and maybe one other person.
Right.
But if you want to build a business in this industry, it's nothing to do with cleaning at all. You're a management company that specializes in cleaning because a lot of these folks have full-time jobs, and
The people that work for you have full-time jobs?
because a lot of times, I learned very early about the cleaning industry, which is, kind of coming full circle to the work that I'm doing now is I learned a long time ago back then is that in cleaning, after 4 hours of cleaning, production drops by 70%.
Oh, wow.
So can you imagine when someone shows up to work hour 1, by hour 4, they're beat.
Yeah.
And if you're in a bigger facility that they have to walk back and forth, your production just drops, so your second 4 hours, you're hardly getting anything. So I learned a long time ago, I said, with that being said, is I switched all of my shifts to part-time. Okay, so 3 to 4 hours. So think about this. If people go to work and do an 8-hour day, they just want a few hours afterwards.
Right.
And they go to work, they come off, and really we get down around 3 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours is the max. Pay them great money. And they come in, they hustle to get their things done. And right when they're starting to get tired, it's time to go. So switching, cleaning is it's a lot of work. I think why it's so popular is because, one, it's very low startup costs. You need cleaning supplies at the dollar. They're now in cleaning, they account for 1% to 2% of the sale. It's nothing.
Really?
Yeah, you think about it. You get $1. I could clean this whole building with $1 bottle of Windex. Because really, it's not about the chemical, okay?
Yeah.
It's about the motion. So people,
You have mastered it. Okay.
I really have, because I've been in all aspects of it. I cleaned the toilets. I've worked 24 hours a day because people called off that I had to wipe it down and seen how tired I was at the end of the day. And then I start to realize, if I'm the owner and I'm this tired, what can I expect from other people?
Right. And also, like you said, their productivity goes down 70% after 4 hours. So yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. I think I'm more intrigued with the fact that you learned that your cleaning business was not a cleaning business. It was literally a management job that specializes in cleaning. And yet you took it a further step and you decided to say, hey, I'm going to become the master of this industry and learn not only that, okay, yeah, I can clean it with Windex, but also how many hours I can actually get to that thing or get that thing done, which I think is commendable. So when you look at profitability, you knew how many people that you were going to need. That's what I'm hearing from you. How long they needed to work, and and how much profit they were going to make plus how much you were going to make is what I'm hearing you say. Like you just mastered that over years.
Yes, I would say I put a lot of effort into learning that. And it comes back to something you and I discussed on the phone call before. It was just for one reason only. It's like I said, it's because I am temporarily motivated to be permanently lazy.
I didn't know you were going to share that on camera.
And that's what it comes down for, because you got to think about this. So can you imagine if I had an 8-hour worker at a facility that required 8 hours, and I have staff all over town, and then you get a phone call late that says, hey, I can't make it. Now I have an 8-hour shift to fill. It becomes a lot harder to search around to find 8 hours. So if you took that 8 hours and broke it down and said, hey, I'm going to have 2 people there for 4 hours. Now, if one calls off, worst case scenario, you're stuck filling 4.
Okay.
So that statement, I tell you, comes really from that. The truth is, so it made me really think about the hours and the time. And I found that if you could figure out the precise labor, it could do all of those things you said. Is you would not say, oh, I just need to hire 8-hour shift. You would know that, hey, this facility or this specific task takes 2 hours. Now you know what to hire for. You now can give the technician clear idea on the time of that task. And now in their mind, they have an idea and can create kind of their own work pace that they know this should be done in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell a worker they have 8 hours and it only is 4 hours worth of work, they are going to take 8 hours. And they're going to get used to taking 8 hours. And then they're going to think that no matter what you say, this job takes 8 hours because they've been doing it like that. So that becomes, kind of the challenge, especially with the work that I'm doing now, is saying, hey, I know that's what you're doing, but it doesn't mean it was, the correct way from the beginning. So the management aspect of it, yes, it becomes a management business because with all of these people having full-time jobs, one is you have to manage them differently because they really don't need this job. So how you might be at a full-time job and your boss can be tougher on you because you're like, I don't like my boss now, but rent's due and I can't go. Now, when you become a part-time business, you can't manage that way.
Right.
You got to create an atmosphere that people are like, I just want to make some couple extra dollars. It needs to be easy. And I find like a lot of new business owners that get into the industry, this is one of the biggest things they have a problem with. They get the work, but they can't get the people.
Okay. So what's the type of person that would be successful, have you seen, that's the most successful in this industry? Like taking this from, okay, I'm cleaning myself to running and managing people.
I would say that the person that has the ability to communicate, to manage, to work on their self, because I'm a better manager now because of my experience of my interactions of different people. A lot of people think that as a manager, you have to be this person that everybody, the same person to everybody, consistent.
Yeah.
But I always said if I had 100 workers, I had 100 personalities I had to be.
You yourself?
100%. I would need to be 100 different people is because, being a manager is not about telling people what to do. You can do that. And some people say, hey, this is the way I manage, tell you what to do, hold you accountable. If you don't get it done, I'll find someone else to do it. I always felt like, okay, if you become that type of manager, a lot of times you have to micromanage, you have to be on top of everything. So I like to manage in a way of kind of creating vested interests of empowering and, giving people the incentive to want to do that. Now, given the fact there are workers that I could go up to and say, hey, go get that trash can, empty it, and then take it outside. And then there's another worker that I know might be more of a stronger personality, and I might say, hey, Erica, can you do me a favor? Could you go grab that trash can for me and take it outside? Oh, yeah, Ben. So those are the things. And if I would have come to Erica and said, Erica, go get that trash can, take it outside.
Yeah.
I could have got a different response. So to me as a leader and as a manager, I have a choice. I have a choice to tell you what to do or get you to want to do it. And I just feel that if you can figure out a management style to get people to want to do things for you, then in the long run, it's what frees up your time more, the ability to grow the business. But I would say if you want to be in the cleaning business, it's about management, nothing more. It's either you have two things. You are either good in generating sales. I tell people, if you have a partner, a lot of times husband and wife teams come, and I'll say, okay, what are you both good at? And, typically the husband's like, I can do the job. I can go out and do the cleaning.
Yeah.
And the wife is like, I can, do more of the back end stuff, the administrative type of stuff. And I say that's a great fit because, if the wife could go out and be able to generate the sales, talk to the clients, deal with that part, the billing, the invoicing, okay, which is very important parts of the business. And then the husband could go out and run the crews. It's almost like she gets the jobs, does the administration, and said, here's a new job, hubby, you get it done.
Okay.
And then that person gets it done. So how do you grow that? Well, obviously, the wife would have to get good at figuring out ways to consistently generate business, because typically what most small business what happens is you don't have no work. So you start hustling, and then you get all of this work. The sales stop, and now you're completing the work.
Yeah.
Now the work is completed. Then you go, oh crap, I need more work. And that's kind of the life cycle of the small business, and it's kind of figuring out, you gotta always be selling.
You always need to be lead generating. Yeah.
For you,
Yes.
it's lead generation, and if you can keep that going, what happens is, believe it or not, I tell everybody that's the easiest part in cleaning, getting the jobs, because there's a lot of cleaning companies, but there's a lot of bad ones.
Fair.
So what happens is, if I come to you and you say, Ben, I already got a cleaning company, to me, I go, it's just a matter of time.
Oh my.
I hate saying that. I'm like, okay, Erica, I'm just going to sit back, and because I know how much
matter of time.
This business is about consistency.
Yeah.
See, when you do paperwork and you have a job that, you might be in an office or something, you can say, you know what, I don't feel good today, so I'm going to take a little bit of time off. I'm not going to do as much paperwork today. In cleaning, you can't say, I'm not going to change that toilet paper today. I'm not going to empty that trash can today. I'm not going to dust that person's desk, because now what happens is this person comes back to work. They're in this space for 8 hours and they notice it.
Yeah. Well, they could say, well, I'm not going to clean this area today.
They could,
but they're going to lose the contract.
They're going to lose the contract.
Yeah, they could definitely do that.
And so that's why this business is so much about consistency. Like a lot of new business owners, they come in and they find themselves getting massive contracts.
Yeah.
Great. I've been there. But I know what it takes afterwards to fulfill them.
Right.
Which, kind of brings me to a quick little story that I have a friend, a local guy, he's always been in the restaurant business. And I call this the ding story. And, he's worked in the restaurant all of his life, mostly in the front of the house. So customers come in, he's at the bar, he gets to communicate, talk, take the orders. He turns around to the window, drops the ticket, hits the bell, lets the cook know, ding, there's an order in. He's able to continue doing what he does good in communicating. And now he's starting to think, hey, these people are coming into the restaurant for me, to see me too. And so order comes up, he takes the meal, gives it to the clients, and they enjoy their dinner, pay the bill, leave a nice tip. Well, eventually, most, entrepreneurs, and people start to say, maybe I can start a restaurant.
Mm.
Maybe
Because he's making it look easy.
because it's making it look easy.
Mm-hmm.
But what he has failed to realize is what happens once he hits the ding, the bell, and he goes order in.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't realize in the back of the house, someone has to order the precise amount of food,
Mm-hmm.
have the right amount of cooks, the right amount of preps. You have to have a space to rent to cook these things. You have to have managers, cooks doing schedules. You have to do payrolls and supervisors and all of these things. Then when that plate comes up,
Yeah.
all you see is that meal. And I think that what happens is with a lot of folks that want to get into their own business and things, they get really excited. They get really, really excited about doing something, and then they get started, and then a lot of these hurdles, dings that they don't even know about.
Behind the scenes. This is good, man. This is good.
They don't even know about those things.
Yeah. They don't see the behind the scenes.
They don't see the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell everybody is getting into your own business. You don't do that for something to do. You do it for a reason, a why, because it's very important to me spending time with my girls. It always has been. It's been the driving factor is what I
Anyone that knows you knows that you love your daughters, all of them.
In which that stems from me growing up, my mother having these 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as the events that she been there for, there was a lot that she missed. So I didn't realize this till later in life. Like, why am I so infatuated with spending time with these girls?
Yeah.
Like nothing matters. Like I didn't want to miss one thing.
Right.
And I really don't think I did. I remember Diamond played for Wisconsin. And she had a position. Someone needed to keep the seat warm. Okay. Because these were some great seats.
I love it.
And, they played on Thursdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And just about every home game, I flew out there and watched her warm that seat, and because it was important. We went through all these years of traveling and playing basketball, and then to see her achieving the things that she wanted to achieve I didn't want to miss that.
Yeah. She did put a lot of work into that, a lot of work into it. It was that important to you because you wanted to follow her dream unfold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the thing is I never gave her the dream.
Really? Because I know a lot of people, we're not supposed to be talking about basketball, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people from the outside looking in, the perception was that you were driving her to do this. And that's not the case at all.
It's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't make someone love something.
You sure can.
You just can't. And you think about it, and the amount of work that I think she's showed everyone that she's put in, there's no way, I know I can't for sure say this, there's no way that I could do that and not love what I was doing. Because there was times that people don't know, she woke up before school and worked out. We went to the Y before school. She would tell me, Dad, let's go to the gym before school. And I would say, if you wake me up. I didn't wake up. I never told.
You never woke up?
Why would I want to wake up at 4 a.m? Like, no. Like,
Right.
if you want to go, I'm not going to wake up and get ready and have to go in there and say, hey, it's time to go shoot.
Right.
No, if you want to do this, you tell me. I never told her where I never asked what time her practice was. None of that. She told me.
Mm.
All I did was put her in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I did. I searched. I said, oh, she has the drive. She has the passion. Who's the best teams?
Mm.
Who's the best players? I never wanted her to be the best player.
Yeah.
Because I felt that sometimes kids get success early and it's easy to take the foot off the gas, you know, and, you know, she really took this game and made and found something in it that was for her. And as a father, as a parent, that was my job.
Yeah.
You know, so, and what's great about that fire and her achieving that is that she went through all of that. Now, Passion played basketball great too,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew it wasn't Passion's love.
Right.
I would never forced it on her.
Yeah.
You know, I think Passion was still searching for that. And now Passion's found it. So Diamond got that early. Okay. And then what it also did was, okay, pulled her sister along. Okay. Because, you know, Diamond was playing basketball. So it naturally, you know, steps the game up for little sisters, like the brothers wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
The big brother wrestles the little brother gets stronger and stronger, you know. And so Passion got to, you know, really watch how Diamond was focused, and there was Passion admired her just as much as everybody else, you know, and you know, and to see now Passion now be able to realize, okay, start just thinking, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people get really stressed because they think they should know that right away. And that's, if you say, what did Diamond get that was lucky? She got lucky and loved something very early
Mm-hmm.
in her life. And I didn't know that was going to happen. And I just fueled that. And then
Yeah, you nurtured it. Yeah.
I nurtured it. And that's all I did to that. And so to now see her, Diamond, where she is, and Passion where she is, there's nothing more, you know, as a parent that we want to see, that our children are able to fend for themselves and live and survive in what sometimes could be a very tough world.
Mm-hmm.
So to see my girls in it, living it, being involved in it, surviving in it, I told them that's when my time comes, that's all I want to see as a parent.
Yeah.
And I see that in them. So that really gives me, you know, a sense of peace along with gratefulness that I can take those experiences and really look at them and say, hey, what could I do better with these twins?
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at that, and my thing with the twins is,
Almost a chance to do all the things that you probably feel like, okay, I could do this a little bit better. Is that what you're applying to your twin?
yes. So I look at Diamond and Passion,
Mm-hmm.
and I just look at the relationship, because really you can say how I parented them is looking at all the things about myself, how I was raised. Like, I'm lazy. I really am. Like my mom, I'm staying at my mom.
Because you had a successful business.
Yeah.
You know, you had a hiccup and you started another successful business. So stop saying you're lazy. You're not lazy. You like to work smarter, not harder. You're not going to be doing like running in circles. You're going to figure it out real quick. If it works, yes, I'm moving forward. That's the type of person that you are. I learned that just in this couple-minute conversation that we had. So you're not lazy.
Well, I will say I'm not surprised, but your ability to make words and change them and use other meetings. It's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So, yes, if anyone has not known, they know now how much more you love your daughters. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love
I
that
don't
for
know, I really don't, I sit back and I think about it because I'm like, am I obsessed with them? Like,
No, you're not. You are the father of any little girl's dreams, I'm sure. I'm sure if they were here to say that, they'd be like, oh my gosh, my dad is the best. Because you don't seem like you're a helicopter father. Like, you're like, okay, no, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. You probably sit there, probably their friend. This is me just speculating, just based off what I see on social media. So, no, you are a dynamic father, I'm sure. Sure.
well, thank you for that.
I'll call Diamond and Passion. I was like, hey, was I right? Like, no, man, that man's crazy.
It's so funny, man. They
But
just,
they would say, yes, we love our dad.
yeah, I was thinking about this is, because I communicate with them and, we're not the type with Diamond and Passion that we talk every day. I'm more about, hey, when we talk about meaningful things,
Oh,
like
good.
bringing up to speed. Like, there is no hard conversations with us is because, a long time ago, I said to myself, I said, when everybody passes away, people, go to the funeral and people get to come up and tell stories
Mm-hmm.
about that person. And, and I kind of looked and say, hey, one day that's going to be me. Okay. People are going to be at my funeral if I'm lucky. And they're going to come up and they're going to tell stories. And they're going to say, girls, I want to tell you something about your dad you didn't know. And I always treated it that my girls were the one people that knew exactly who I was. That when that happens, they're the ones up there saying, no, y'all, let me tell you who my dad was. So those 4 girls know who I am, my flaws, the good things, the bad things, all of that stuff, so it's very important for me to always conduct myself as that type of role model for them.
Mm. Dating got to be hard for them. It got to be hard. We're like, standards got to be up to here. If you're treating them the way that you're treating them, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny is because,
And every last one, they're all beautiful. All of them are beautiful. So,
yeah, every time you tell somebody that, you have 4 girls, everybody says, oh, you better get a gun,
that's what they would say about our girls too.
Well,
Why? To teach them standards.
exactly the point I was going to get to is I'd rather teach them to shoot their own.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no way as a father, being realistic, I can be there.
Mm-mm.
So the only thing I can do is to give them the tools. And so they know, just so you know, guys, how men think.
Oh, jeez.
They know about you acting nice for a while. And I teach them these things. And kind of how I look at it is this. Essentially, as parents, we're just in the future. We are their future. So on many occasions, I'm able to turn back and say, hey, girls, this is what I learned about us. So you are aware we have a tendency to do this. I know we haven't talked about that conversation, but I think if I tell you the end of that conversation about what I shared on Facebook, the lesson I learned
Yes.
from that was this, which my daughters were the first people I called. And I said, guess what? I'm in the future. I just figured this out about us. So note this is, I kind of say that if we all have our own circle and we create that circle around us, and usually people come in that circle and go in that circle,
Mm-hmm.
and some people stay longer than others. And I kind of gave them the analogy of when we go to the airport, we have to go through security. We'll take all of our stuff down. They wand us up and down to make sure that we don't have anything that can harm anybody else in the airplane, in the airport. And once we go through that security measure, we're free to roam the airport. And we're never rewanded again. And we have to start rewanding people we let into our circle.
Mm.
And because people can get into your circle and be doing damage that you have no idea what's going on sometimes until it's too late. So make sure those that are close to you, you really sit back and you really examine how they're treating you, what's going on, and really look at those, because I know for me it's hard to get in my circle, but once I let you in,
Mm-hmm.
you're in, and I realized that people change, and I think the most important thing I learned too is that, myself included, but human beings, we can justify anything we want to. And once we justify in our own particular minds that this thing is right or wrong that we're going to do, we ride out with it.
Whether it's right or wrong.
Whether it's right or wrong, if you can convince yourself
That it's right.
That it's right and it's okay to do that because of maybe what someone else did to you or whatever the case is, that's a hard thing. So I understand that, and I'm guilty of it as anyone else. But I think the most important thing is about being aware of that.
Yeah. And you were able to pivot.
So yeah, in pivoting.
Well, how long did it take you to pivot? Because I know you went through that. You learned that people weren't who they said they were. People that you trust at one point, you weren't able to trust them. Like how long did you go off the grid, just black out before you were like, okay, I have to reinvent myself?
I'm still in that process.
Mm.
But I will tell you, I think my mindset has completely changed because, a lot of the things that I've been through, I haven't talked about.
Mm.
A lot of people don't know. And I can assure everyone that I have just this amount of problems as they do.
Sure.
My life isn't perfect. I have struggles that everybody else has. But that particular incident, I look at everything very differently now. You have two choices. You can look at things as things that happen to you or things that happen for you. And I've realized now that some of the things that happened to me that were some of the most challenging and difficult ones, I'm talking about the worst of the worst, were followed up by the greatest times ever.
That's always the case. It seems as if it's always the case. Like, yeah, the greater opposition, the greater the blessing.
Well, if you really look into that, you go, why? Is because think about this. How could you ever know what good is if you didn't know what bad was?
Yeah.
So believe it or not,
you can't be grateful. Yeah.
you can't have good people without bad people. We wouldn't know the difference.
We wouldn't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
So what happens is a lot of times people run from these bad times. But now I face them. I look them dead in the eye. And I now say, what am I supposed to be learning from this?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I look at that incident which is really about the story I told you, is I brought people into my circle and they were in my airport destroying lots and lots of things. And they eventually tried to and did run off with my airport. Okay. And as that happened, as in my story, January of 2020, it happened, started the year prior, probably even before. And once January hit, that what they have done, I was starting to really understand. It was really stressful because this was the first time that I didn't know I was going to pay my bills. Because think about this. I just couldn't go get a job.
Right.
Like, that just doesn't happen, So I had to have a choice. It'd be easy for me to blame them. I'm broke. Can't pay my bills because of them. You guys save my character, shift the blame. But I didn't have time for that. I had these twins. I had the responsibility. If I would have been by myself, I could have just lived in a room. Like, doesn't matter. Made it through. But since these kids and me, remember, the captain of the ship, so now I had to walk the walk. So that, what was crazy, that whole situation, is after they took my airport, they turned and filed a lawsuit on me because they knew that I was broke. And if they filed a lawsuit on me and I couldn't pay, they could take the business and roll and there would be no consequences, because that's where I learned about the law. Whoever has the most money wins. So literally that was their plan, reason why is because the gentleman actually did my books. He was my financial guy. So financially, he knew everything and what to do. And so he initiated the plan. But there again, that happened January. Lost lots of business. I couldn't, by March, third month, I wasn't paying my mortgage. And COVID happened and I was able to secure a large contract. And with the proceeds of that large contract is which allowed me to pack my family up and move to Florida that June 15th, 2020.
During COVID.
Well, there was no COVID in Florida.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Silly me.
Just so yeah. So I moved to Florida and continued to do the business up there. But why I chose to move then And why it was really beating on me is there again since I've been 19 years old, I felt like I've had that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that I was always given, help me start a cleaning business. I need help for this. And I became the problem solver for everyone except for myself. And so after all of these years, I started thinking like, I don't have no one that I'm refueling from. I don't have no one feeding me motivation, keeping me going. And I was just drained.
Mm.
Like, I didn't even have any more ideas.
Yeah. So you were the strong friend and you were just like, okay, now I need to be weak. Where's my strong friends at?
And it wasn't that I don't have strong friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I have just reached a different level of problems that unless somebody could relate,
Okay.
like, how could I really get a valuable opinion or advice? If I got a $200,000 payroll coming up and I only got 50 grand and this person only makes 50 grand a year and I tell them this problem, you might as well shoot yourself, Ben. That's impossible. So you got to realize, like, I learned that too, is the only advice anybody can ever give you is their own experience.
Yeah.
Anything else is an opinion. How could you tell me how to make $1 million and you never made it? But everybody wants to give their opinions and treat it as its advice.
Mm-hmm.
So Florida, all I remember from all of my years from Arizona, which I learned from there, was how the sunshine made me feel.
Mm.
And so Florida, when I decided where to go, Arizona was just too far to fly with the kids if I had to come back from work. And I'd never been to Florida. 2-hour flight, ocean, sunshine, palm trees. So I took that money, found a spot down there for my family, and I just started working and healing myself. And that's what I've been doing. And I now, even in Florida, no difference than here, faced a whole set of different challenges there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at in the mirror myself, the fact that I can stand there and be happy with the man I see, I can truly, honestly be nothing more than grateful for every single thing that has happened because I love the man I am now. So,
Evolution.
yeah. And that's what life is about. We get into relationships and people say, you're just not the same person. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We're not supposed to be. I have different things that are important to me now because there was things in that ding I didn't even know that I'm experiencing. I'm coming to a new, if I didn't know this level existed of me, how could I even come to grips of the possibilities of that level?
Yeah.
And so now I am just on a very simple mission, is a story was told to me about a guy who the father was never in his life. And after 40 years, his father was diagnosed with terminal illness, that he didn't have too much longer to live. And they reached out to the son, and the son hadn't seen his father in 40 years. And he decided to go see him. And he went to the hospital, and they got to talk, and they got to, let's say, make amends on whatever issues they had. And after a week or two, the son was there sitting by his dad, and he asked to play a game. He said, "Dad, if you could come back as anybody in the world that you could, who would you come back as?" And the dad, he thought, and the son just started, giving ideas about what he would be. "I'll be the invisible man, and I can go rob banks or Superman and all of these things." And he looked over at his dad, and his dad had a tear coming out. And he said, "What's wrong?" And his dad responded by saying that if he could come back, he will come back as the greatest version of himself he could.
Mm.
And so I think and truly put myself in that dad's shoes. And so now my mission is just to see how great I can be in this life. So I want to live. I want to be healthy. I want to be here for my girls as long as I can be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how much of an impact I can make. So purpose is very important. Purpose is what gets you through the dings and all of those mountains that you will be sure to have to climb in all of life, not just entrepreneurship. And I can tell you that when your purpose is so strong, it's unshakable.
So what does living in purpose mean to you?
It means to me that I believe that I can impact myself with my ideas, that I believe I can build something that can allow other people
Mm-hmm.
to have the same opportunity as I did. And that is one simple thing, is this cleaning business and how I see it, not how anybody else sees it. I believe that I figured out a way that average people, regular people, like my mom, can now be a part of some type of opportunity that they can earn enough money, not sacrificing a lot of time to spend time with their family. So everything that I think about in my business and my purpose is for that one thing alone.
And that's how your new business evolved. You want to share that with us?
Yes. So in my whole journey of cleaning and, having hundreds of workers and then realizing that employees was not the best way for me to create what I said the best incentive base.
He's saying he was tired of working with people. That's what he's saying.
I was truly saying that I was really there again. This Erica and her choice of words are just absolutely amazing. So, yes, I realized very
eloquent. I had to bust it up.
Yeah, you definitely did that. So, yes, I realized that working with people were challenging, and
Yeah.
and so I in 2004 read this magazine about franchising,
Mm-hmm.
and really the main heading was, "Hey, this is a way for you to grow fast and have people have invested interests." I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, I can help people start their business, and which would grow my business. I would have to just give them the tools that they can start their own business and build their own business." And that became very passionate to me. That was exciting because there again, it comes back to helping them. And I ended up franchising. It took me 10 years with my ADHD, but I had to write a 500-page manual. I had to understand my business. That's why when I talk a lot, it is when I went to the franchising, they said, "Hey, we can help you with the financials and how to do this, but we don't know the operations."
Mm-hmm.
And I went there in 2005. I didn't go back and get started till 2011 because I was like, 500 pages? And my ADHD just shut me down.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. So then over the years, I started just thinking about how can I organize. So now I had this everything in business. I started saying, okay, I need to be able to write this down and document the process, because when people buy a franchise, they can't think. It's designed like that. You need to, hey, how do I go to a building? You got to get the keys, you stick it in the hole, turn the alarm off. There can be no aspect of it that is wonder into thought. So that's what I had to do. So it took me years to ABB. And then, so I finally started getting the franchising developing. And then I came into another problem. It was a positive problem. Got the franchises and people up. And then people started coming to me saying, "Ben, I need you to price this job for me."
Mm-hmm.
Now, there again, I'm going to resort back to my word of lazy. Is therefore, and now I want to see you switch this up. Therefore, so now all of these contractors are coming to me for proposals. Can you do this proposal? Now I got work on my desk. And then they got the nerve to call me and say, "Did I do it yet?" Now, granted, this is money that'll build the business.
Right.
And I don't want to do the work. So, Miss Erica Rawls, please give me what that word would be. Okay, we'll go with lazy.
I have no idea.
We'll go with lazy. So what happened was I said, because I was the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And in our industry, it's only the owners that price. And you say, why? Because we'll go to a facility like this and I cleaned it. And I would be like, okay, I was here for 6 hours, right? And then the client calls and says, "Hey, can you come clean my house?" And I go to the house and I look at it and I says, "Well, this is about the size of Erica's house.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit smaller. I was there for 6 hours. I'm going to go 5.
Okay.
Okay. And then you do, okay, I'm going to pay my worker $10 an hour. That's back then, $15, $20 an hour. And then you say, okay, I'm going to charge X. Okay. And so what happens is every cleaning company is different. Another cleaning lady would have came in here and been in here for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the difference? So what happens is cleaning is really done on people's experiences,
Okay.
not how long it actually takes to mop the floor.
Yeah.
Because if someone said to me, okay, Ben, this job is 6 hours. If I said, okay, If it's 6 hours, how long does it take to do the restrooms? How long does it take to sweep the floors? How long does it take to mop the floors? How long does it take to do the kitchen?
Mm-hmm.
No one knows. They just lump it all. So what I've done is I looked at this, and people are bidding by square footage, and then they say, oh, my house is 1,000 square foot. I charge $1 a square foot. Well, look at this house now. It's not that cluttered. But if my mother lived here,
Mm-hmm.
we would have to move a vase just to stand up because of the clutter. Okay, there's things everywhere. So if I have 1,000 square feet and the house is not as cluttered here, but then you got a client that has a lot of clutter, how could you still build? How's it still the same time? It can't be. So square footage is just a way to back into the number. Like a lot of real estate companies who look for prices, I'll come in and say, hey, Erica, here's your price, $1,000. And you'll say, oh, my building's 2,000 square feet divided. Ben's at $1 for a square foot. Because that's how real estate is. They calculate their costs. What's happened now is cleaning companies, they bid off of that stuff. They now don't even know. They just go, oh, $1 a square foot. They get there and they realize, I ain't got enough time. Because they're just bidding off the price that someone paid.
Oh, okay.
So what I did was I said, okay, I need to figure out how the labor is going to be, how much labor is going to be, so people can price. That's how it all started. Because I didn't want them calling me no more to do a bid.
Right.
Do your own bid because I got things to do.
Right.
So that was my whole initiative. And so then what happened was I built it that everybody could now use it and price jobs. They could see how long the restrooms took. And now I could send them a job and said, hey, this job's 1,000. And it would tell them how long the restrooms took, the kitchen. And then now if there was a problem and you came back and said, Ben, this wasn't enough time, I could now say, okay, well, let's see where we missed that. The restrooms, it said 2 hours. How long did that take you? Mm-hmm. We can time it. We can measure these numbers now.
Got it. Okay. So you have a system that you actually can go in and compute how long it's going to take someone to do a job.
Yes, everything. So I just now create blueprints of every commercial facility in the world. I don't do it square footage wise. I don't do it traditional wise. It is a whole new way that I look at cleaning.
Now, is this something that you use, or is this something you're selling to other cleaning businesses?
So I would say in this whole development of the system of kind of like the analogy I want to use is it's kind of like where I am now. I'm evolved past it a little bit, and I'll explain how it's almost like for years and years, people rode horses, right? And you become accustomed to what you can do on a horse, how far you can go, everything you can do, how long that you can ride the horse so it needs a break and all these things. And I pull up to you in a Ferrari and you have a horse. You have no idea what this Ferrari can do, but I do.
Right.
So for a while, I've had this Ferrari, and these people on this horse are just staring at me. The hell does he have?
What's he doing?
What's he doing with this thing, right? And so it's been trying to tell everybody, hey, look at the shiny red car. It can go fast. It can do this. It can do that. And trying to figure out what's going to make someone get off their horse and want to try out the Ferrari.
Right.
And so that's what I've been kind of doing, for this last year or so, is trying to figure that out. And kind of now is I've gotten people down off the horse.
Oh, good.
Walking around the car.
Oh, okay. There we got. And then
some people, I've had people get in and test drive it.
Okay.
Which has now gotten me to the point that the person test driving is now starting to help tell everybody, hey, you on that horse.
You only need one.
You only need one. So which
Yeah.
brings me is that one was Stilton School District.
Oh, good.
As we all know, is under their leadership down there, amazing superintendent, Mick, has been challenged with, keeping teachers and budgets. And so a few years ago, he came to me because he had, very high cost, and he had an issue with cleaning and staffing and getting staff, keeping staff. So 2 years ago, I went in with my system and process. Now, granted, at this time, I didn't jump onto this system like this is my new thing. It was just a part of still my cleaning, because I was still in the cleaning contractor business, which I'm no longer in. So I went into one of their schools with my software and created a precise blueprint of precise labor that he now knew how long it took to empty the trash, to dust the desks, to mop the floors, to the minute. And then I have probably 400 points of data that can back that up.
Oh, wow.
And so I put this blueprint together for him. And then he said, oh, wow, Ben, this is amazing. This is great, but I can't find no workers. So I took it a step further, and I went out and I took my blueprint and I showed this blueprint to some of the contractors that had been through my trainings and that I've done business with. And the contractors were able to put a price in without showing up, without anything. They just simply added an hourly rate. So I was with that system. Stilton was able to take their cleaning budget from about $450,000 a year to that year they spent, I believe last year they spent $146,000.
Oh, wow.
So significant drop.
Yeah.
Which was no money out of Stilton's pocket, but did that completely free. They now ended up creating literally $50,000 a month in positive cash flow right back to the school. So then they reached back out a few weeks ago, said, hey, let's see if we can do this for another school, another high school. So I went back in with my software, mapped everything out, and I believe they were paying a total of that building was $490,000. No, sorry. They spent on that building $668,000
in
labor and benefits. After I created the blueprint and everything, that's why I'm up here now, is I now reduced that to $191,000. So
that's incredible.
And how this all comes back, it's a win for Stilton.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't write me a check, they didn't do anything. And how it's a win is that they obviously get to keep the teachers, but how this comes back to my purpose is that now by me creating this opportunity, because one thing I didn't tell you, which is my mission and my own personal mission, which is to inspire and educate, provide the tools and opportunities for ordinary people to become successful business owners. So, example is by having my contractors who I've inspired to start their own cleaning businesses, and then provided them the education. I have one of the only cleaning programs that the state of Pennsylvania has that can be purchased by the states, federal, local governments, that I was putting college kids through HU, YMCAs, different nonprofit organizations, teaching them to start their own business, very successful program. And then I was able to get them work and subcontract them work. So we inspire them, we get them excited, give them the education because now they're motivated.
Yes.
Here's your software tools to run your business. And then here's a contract. So why I do this for the school, and it's a benefit, a win for all of us, is school can save teachers, not costing them money. My contractors, I can now take this blueprint from Stilton. Now, this contractor who was a regular old contractor, the Stilton contract is, anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000 a month for this regular old contractor family who is regular people that come over from another country, got citizenship, and built a business. Now they have a business. Okay. So now that business that they have has allowed them to put their children through college, to own a home and a house. And then what I get, that was all completed from my purpose, my idea. So my purpose is being fulfilled in all of this. And if I make these things work between all of us, then I truly get what I want. And they have invested interest in running their business, which they have their own business, which now they don't need me. I'm removed from their success.
Right.
Which therefore I can spend the time I want with my girls.
You created a playbook to make it easier for anyone to start their business, that they can take it, apply it, and then just pretty much win any contract because you're showing how the company can save money.
100%. Yeah. And they don't have to have any experience in the cleaning. They can, and I'm giving this away for free. If they want to start their own business, they just send me a direct message. I'll send you the link. You ain't got no credit card. They can do it for free.
Right.
You say, why would he do that? Because at the end of the day, how we all make money in this is off the transaction. If you don't have a business, okay, I can never get you to the point of doing a transaction. So instead of selling you for a business, if you don't got the money to do that, then gosh, I'm never going to get you to this point.
Yeah.
So let me give this away for you for free. So right now, I don't care if you ever been in the business or thinking about it. I can tell you what I can do is I can give you the precise labor for any commercial cleaning facility in the world. Fact. And some people, it's never been able to be done because they still think that I'm trying to work my system into their system. That's why people are like, how's he fitting that on top of this?
Okay.
I deleted everything everyone ever thought about how to bid a job and started from the ground up. And it's a completely new system. So I don't have software. No one logs in and does this.
Right.
I collect data, provide a service, and spit the data out to you.
That's amazing. So how can someone get in contact with you? Because they're going to ask. Before we end this, how do they get in contact with you? Because I'm assuming you'd want a consultation and they want to have more questions because we couldn't cover everything.
So really the easiest way right now is because I'm on my social media. So what I would say the best thing to do is just to DM me on my social media.
Okay. And we'll share that too.
Yeah, you share that. I really do a lot of my personal social media is obviously I'm active doing more personal stuff. But what I'm doing for the school districts and things like that is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Under Black Post Software and myself. But usually what happens is people DM me and then I do all of my communications and stuff through a Slack account.
Okay.
So what I do is I get everybody on Slack for free.
Yeah.
And then I can give you the free training because I got to invite you. I don't want everybody on there because, Slack is kind of like Facebook,
right?
But for business.
Right.
So I like to monitor who's on there. So you can DM me and I'll send you an invitation to Slack. And then if you want the free training, I'll give you the free training, the tools, all of those things, for pricing the jobs I'm doing, giving access for free too.
That's awesome, Ben. I enjoyed our conversation.
Great. I did most of the talk.
It was a lot. Well, it's supposed to be that way, Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure it was valuable for you. And I'm sure someone's going to be reaching out to you, asking you for some more information, because there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff to unpack in there.
Well, I'm here if anybody needs any help. Like I said, I'm here for when people want to reach out. I'm done with.
Oh, you are. He's not just saying that. Yeah, you really are. Because I called you and asked you to help, a relative with something. And you were just like, oh, yeah. And just gave it all away. So I appreciate that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yes. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you in the comments.